You walk into a room, you haven't said a word, but within 7 seconds the judgment is already made. Not just about how you look, but about who you are, what you're worth, and whether you're someone to be admired or ignored. It doesn't matter what your intentions are. It doesn't matter what you've achieved. In that first instant, perception becomes reality. You've been sized up, filed, categorized, and from that moment forward, everything you do will be filtered through that lens. But what if you could control that lens? What if you could walk into any room and shape what people think about you? Not with charm, not with words, but with presence. This is where Machiavelli comes in. He didn't believe in authenticity, he believed in control. Control of appearances, control of emotion, control of perception, because he understood something most people miss. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. In other words, the truth doesn't matter. The illusion does. And in a world where impressions are made faster than thought, illusion is power. So, what if you could master the art of those first 7 seconds? What if you could learn to be feared without being threatening, respected without asking, trusted without revealing a thing? This isn't about manipulation for its own sake. It's about survival, dominance, presence. Because if you don't control how people see you, they'll decide for themselves. And they usually get it wrong. In this video, we're going deep into the Machiavellian art of first impressions, where silence becomes strategy, and every glance, every gesture is a calculated move in the game of power. Your time starts now. We like to believe we're judged by our intentions, that people will see the real us if we just stay honest, open, and sincere. Machiavelli would laugh at that idea. To him, the world is not a place of fairness or truth. It's a stage. And every person is an actor. The game is not about being real, it's about being believable, being powerful, not honest. A prince must learn how not to be good, he wrote, and to use this knowledge or not as necessity requires. This is the birth of the mask, a carefully crafted illusion, not fake, strategic, not a lie, a weapon. You don't walk into a room and let people figure you out. You walk in and decide who you are. Then you project it. Confidence is part of the mask. So is calm, mystery, detachment, command. You become what they want to believe, but only enough to gain control. Then you become what they fear losing. Think about it. Who gets the job? The one who's qualified or the one who seems confident? Who gets the date? The kind one or the one who feels dangerous and untouchable? This isn't deception. It's survival in a world that doesn't wait for depth. People don't have time to understand you. They just want a story to believe. So give them one. Machiavelli didn't trust the public. He knew crowds were emotional, irrational, hungry for symbols. So he taught rulers to become symbols. A lion, a fox, a figure larger than life. You can do the same. Learn to walk slower, speak less. Hold eye contact 1 second longer than what's comfortable. Don't rush to explain yourself. Let them wonder. Let them imagine, because power doesn't come from being loud. It comes from being felt, from being known, without being understood. That's the Machiavellian mask. You control the story, you control the room, you control the game, without saying a word. We think we're rational, but we're not. We're pattern-seeking, story-craving creatures who trust feelings more than facts. We like to believe we see reality, but what we really see is a filtered version of it, one shaped by emotion, memory, and assumption. Psychologists call it confirmation bias. We decide what to believe first, then search for reasons to back it up. You meet someone who dresses well, speaks with calm, and walks like they own the ground under their feet. Before they've said anything of substance, you're already convinced they're competent, successful, maybe even brilliant. This is the halo effect. One positive trait spills over to everything else, but it works both ways. A weak handshake, nervous energy, a moment of self-doubt. And suddenly you're seen as unsure, maybe even untrustworthy. People fill in the blanks. They take fragments and create a full picture, even if it's wrong, especially if it's wrong. That's why perception is so easy to manipulate and so dangerous to ignore. Machiavelli understood this centuries before psychology gave it a name. He knew that the public didn't want truth. They wanted conviction. They wanted someone who looked like they knew what they were doing, and if you could project that, they'd hand you their loyalty, even their freedom. Men judge more by the eye than the hand, he said. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. So if you want to win, don't just act powerful. Become the idea of power. Because once people believe something about you, they don't let go easily. Their minds will bend reality to protect that belief. They'll defend your image, even to themselves. This is the real secret. Control the first impression and you control the entire narrative. It's not about lying. It's about knowing the rules of the human mind and playing them better than anyone else. So ask yourself, do you walk into a room hoping people get you? Or do you enter with the intention to shape what they see? Because once you understand how easily we're deceived, you stop being the one who gets played, and you start becoming the one who sets the stage. In a world that screams for attention, silence is unsettling. It creates tension, curiosity, sometimes fear. Most people rush to fill every gap in conversation. They talk to explain, to justify, to be liked. But Machiavelli saw something different. Silence is a weapon. He believed that the more you say, the more power you give away. Every word reveals something. Your thoughts, your intentions, your weaknesses. The moment you speak, you expose yourself to judgment, contradiction, interpretation. But when you stay silent, you become a mirror. People project onto you what they want to see, or what they fear is true. The prudent man, Machiavelli wrote, does not reveal his intentions until it is too late for others to oppose him. That's not just manipulation. That's strategy. When you speak less, your words gain weight. They hit harder. People lean in. They wonder what you're thinking, why you're holding back, what you know that they don't. And that mystery? That's where power begins. Look at the world's most influential people. Leaders, CEOs, strategists, icons. They don't rush to speak. They listen. They pause. They calculate. They understand this Machiavellian law. The more unpredictable you are, the more control you have. When you don't reveal your thoughts, no one can prepare for your next move. You become unreadable, untouchable. Even in confrontation, silence dominates. Say nothing when insulted. You appear above it. Say nothing when accused. You turn the spotlight onto their desperation. Say nothing when they expect you to speak. You shift the entire power dynamic. It's not always about what you say. It's about what you choose not to say. And when. Because every silence is a signal. It says, I don't need to prove myself. I don't chase approval. I control the tempo. That's the kind of presence people remember. Not the loud voice, but the one who could shatter the room with just one pause. So the next time you feel the urge to speak, ask yourself, are you protecting your power or handing it away? Because in the right hands, silence isn't weakness, it's dominance. Power disappears the moment you show need. That's the emotional trap. Most people don't realize it, but every time you express desperation for love, for approval, for validation, you place yourself beneath the person you're trying to impress. Machiavelli warned against this. He understood something brutal but true. Love is held by a chain of obligation, but fear is maintained by dread of punishment, which never fails. Need makes you predictable. Predictability makes you vulnerable. And vulnerability, without control, makes you disposable. When you crave someone's attention, they feel it. And once they know they're needed, they know they have power over you. It's not about becoming emotionless. It's about not letting your emotions be used against you, because the moment someone senses that you need them more than they need you, the game is already lost. This isn't just romantic. It's everywhere. In business, in friendships, in politics. Who gets the promotion? The one who begs for it, or the one who looks like they could walk away without a second thought? Who gets respected? The one who seeks constant reassurance, or the one who acts like they already know their worth? The world is drawn to people who don't seem to need anything. It's paradoxical. The less you chase, the more you attract. The less you talk, the more people want to hear. The less you depend, the more others become dependent on you. That's the hidden Machiavellian lesson. Make people need you, but never let them think you need them. This doesn't mean cold indifference. It means emotional discipline. Control over your impulses, your desires, your reactions. Hold the line. Pause before responding. Master your expressions. Say less than you feel. Let your silence speak for you, because power doesn't beg. It waits. It watches. It chooses. And when you've mastered that kind of emotional restraint, you stop being someone who reacts to the world. You become someone the world reacts to. So the next time you feel the need to explain yourself, to prove yourself, to be liked, ask, are you building power or giving it away? Because the strongest move is to need nothing and let them wonder why. Some men fought for power. Others didn't have to. They simply walked into a room and the world adjusted. That's the difference a first impression can make. Napoleon Bonaparte was barely 5'6", short even by 19th century standards. But when he entered a room, no one noticed his height. They noticed the silence that followed him, the precision of his words, the way he made you feel like you were either in his way or under his command. He wore simplicity, spoke rarely, and let his reputation enter before he did. People called it charisma, but it was calculated perception. Queen Elizabeth, their eye ruled. Kingdoms surrounded by enemies, men who believed no woman could lead. So she created an illusion. She dressed in regal gold, stood tall and never married. She became the virgin queen, wedded only to her country. Every appearance, every speech, every gesture was crafted to amplify her myth. She wasn't just a queen. She was England itself. Then there's Marlon Brando. Not a king, not a conqueror, an actor. But when he walked into an audition, he didn't ask for approval. He didn't try to impress. He slouched in a chair, chewed gum, and radiated defiance. People couldn't look away. He didn't follow the room's energy. He became it. That's the thread connecting all of them. They controlled how the world saw them. Before saying a single word, Machiavelli didn't need to meet these people to understand them. He predicted them. He said, men must either be flattered or destroyed. There is no middle ground, no lukewarm impression, so they chose impact. They studied how people felt around them, then used that emotion as leverage because facts fade. But feelings, they linger. People might forget your name, your resume, your achievements, but they will never forget how you made them feel in those first few seconds, and that's where power lives. Not in who you are, but in who they believe you are. In a world ruled by perception, the masters didn't adapt to people. They made people adapt to them. That's not luck. That's first-degree psychological warfare. So the question isn't, who are you? The real question is, who do they think you are after 7 seconds? In the past, your first impression lasted seconds. Now it lasts forever. A single post, one photo, one careless comment, and your image is locked in the minds of thousands. This is the new battlefield, social media, where perception is currency, and everyone's playing Machiavelli, even if they don't know it. Every time you scroll, you're being studied, your attention tracked, your emotions triggered. Not by chance, by design. Instagram influencers, Twitter provocateurs, LinkedIn executives with polished smiles and empty quotes. They've learned the secret. It doesn't matter. who you are. It only matters who you appear to be. And so they craft an illusion, carefully curated, painfully perfect. Luxury lifestyles without the debt, happy relationships hiding the dysfunction, confidence layered over deep insecurity. It's not just branding. It's psychological warfare. Why? Because first impressions online don't give you 7 seconds. They give you one swipe. Like, scroll, forget. If you don't strike instantly, you vanish. So people manipulate the frame. They weaponize lighting, filters, aesthetics. They engineer virality, not to share truth, but to control perception. And it works. Followers become believers. Clout becomes credibility. Perception becomes power. But here's the danger. When everyone's image is a mask, authenticity becomes rebellion. In a digital world where fake dominates, being real is the most subversive act. That's why some rise, while others fade. Not because they scream louder, but because they understand the game behind the game. Machiavelli would have thrived here. He wouldn't have just built a following. He would have built a myth, because he knew the truth. Modern people forget. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. So what does this mean for you? It means you're being judged constantly by people who will never meet you, people who only know your highlight reel. And they've already made up their minds. This isn't a call to fake it. It's a warning. If you don't define your image, someone else will, so take control, curate your silence, design your presence. Let every post, every word, every move reflect strategy, not desperation. Because in this era of illusion, the ones who win aren't always the smartest, they're the most perceptive. They don't beg to be understood. They manipulate what's seen, and if you master that, you don't just survive the game. You become the game. You walk into a room, people glance up just for a moment. Their eyes read your face, your posture, your energy. They don't even know they're doing it, and within 7 seconds they decide, are you worth respecting? Are you powerful and or invisible? Are you someone they should listen to or someone they can ignore? That's the window, and most people waste it. They overtalk, they over-explain, they try to impress, without realizing that trying is already a sign of weakness. But those who understand the game don't chase attention, they attract it. They enter with calm presence, they speak slowly, they listen more than they talk. They project clarity without trying to convince, because the real signal of power isn't noise, it's restraint. Machiavelli. Can you? The appearance of control is more important than control itself. So how do you master that moment? You prepare your state before you enter. You carry yourself as if you're already respected, because you respect yourself. You wear simplicity, not to hide, but to remove distractions from your aura. You don't need to impress everyone. You only need to make them feel something. And if they sense that you're different, collected, quiet, dangerous, they'll remember you. Not for what you said, but for the silence that made them lean in. You don't just walk into a room. You arrive, and the game changes. You were told that being nice wins hearts, that explaining yourself earns understanding, that being yourself is enough. But the truth is uglier and more powerful. You don't live in a world of truth. You live in a world of perception, and perception is the battlefield where power is won or lost. The people you admire, they're not always the best. They're the best at being seen, and you've been playing small, hoping the world notices your worth, but the world doesn't notice. It decides quickly, brutally, unless you take control. Starting now, every word, every glance, every moment becomes a tool. You're not here to explain yourself. You're here to build mystery, to radiate intentional silence, to let them feel your weight before you speak. Because the people who win, they master the first 7 seconds, and when you do that, you don't just make an impression, you make a myth. Now the question is, who will they think you are?